Hey guys, Bruce Swearingen here with 4S Wildlife, and we're here with Jeff Cook, UGA Ag Extension Agent for Peach and Taylor counties here in our neck of the woods here in Georgia. And we're going to talk about plant dates and things like that for fall, soil quality, things like that. But you see we're standing in our record buck beans. These are actually the Liberty Link and Roundup ready beans, but this is actually a really, really sandy site. Bad sand. Like back here behind is an ag field that we excluded from being in agriculture because this was so sandy. But I've been spending a lot of time taking care of this ground for several years, and you can see that it's paying off. I mean, these beans are great. There's a lot of beans here. We had it fenced, of course, and we just took the fence down a couple of weeks ago, but we came to this plot because it's so sandy. And Jeff wanted to talk about some soil quality things and amendments to your soil and things we've talked about before, things he's talked about, things I've talked about, and plant dates. You know, a lot of guys want to plant early September sometimes. We've got seed in, but because we have seed in, that doesn't mean it's time to plant. But a lot of guys want to plant now or September 1st, September 15th. We try to push guys to a little bit later to try to keep those plants in the infancy stage a little longer. I've noticed you see way more activity when you can do that, because typically on fall crops, deer don't tend to eat them as much until it gets a little cooler. Not always, but typically. So if they've been planted for a long time, they get tall and they're kind of tough by the time the deer actually want to eat them. So we don't see as much activity. Of course, rain, moisture plays a factor in that. If you typically here is dry in September, but if you're seeing a bunch of rain in September and it looks like October's gonna be a little dry, you might want to take advantage of that and plant a little bit earlier. But more importantly, having your soil right with your pH and your fertility and things like that. And Jeff was going to talk about that for a minute. So
yeah, I'll touch on that. I mean, you look at these beans, like Bruce said, it's sandy, and I get a lot of phone calls with questions about, hey, I want to plant a food plot or I want to plant a garden or something. And they're like, but I live in Taylor County and I got really sandy dirt. First off, if you live in Taylor County, you don't have to tell me you have sandy dirt, because I work here. I know all the dirt's sandy, even the darker dirt's sandy. So yeah. So taking care of your dirt with, in our neck of the woods in the southeast, really, we can't do a whole lot for organic matter, but having something on the field all the time that produces a lot of dry matter will help add organic matter to fields. But just taking care of your crop you're growing, making sure your pH is correct, like Bruce said, making sure that you're fertilizing it correctly so that you can produce this dry matter. You could come in here and if your pH was low and you didn't fertilize it right, you might have beans that were, a foot tall. Of course, excluding the deer is going to help, let the beans get bigger. But having dirt, having soil that's been taken care of, that's been amended with fertilizer, it's been amended with lime so the pH is right and it's what the plant needs. That's the key to growing crops here. There's plenty of farmers in every county in Georgia almost that can grow a crop no matter the clay, the sand, the poor dirt, the good dirt. They can still grow crops and make a living. Yeah. It's just a matter of how, what are they willing to put into that ground. This
is a prime example of that. This little bean patch right here. I mean, looking this good, but on the times to plant and things like that too, I've noticed over the years that a lot of guys base plant dates on when deer season comes in.
Oh yeah.
And I've noticed that guys seem to think that within 30 days of deer season coming in, any day inside of that is a day too late. But most of what we try to tell people they're planting, of course, this is not for deer, it's for agriculture.
Right.
And you're already planting, I mean, even if you plant in October, early October, things like cereal grains, you're probably planting way earlier than a farmer would even plant to make a grain head, and you're more just trying to make a plant and foliage than just a grain head, unless you're worried about dove or turkey or quail or whatever. But
so I tell people, and we're in Georgia, so I go by Georgia recommendations, but I tell people, for your location, look at what's recommended for your forage producers. Look at what's recommended for your beef cattle guys or your sheep and goat guys. When do they recommend that they plant a cool season crop? Because that's the dates that I like to pick. And I know my dates are always going to be a little bit sooner than Bruce's.
Cool season crop.
Cool season crop.
Yeah.
But my dates are always going to be a little bit sooner, because that's what our recommendations are. But that is also based on, you've taken the time you've come out here, and like in this area, say you've come out here and you've desiccated, killed one of these halves of beans, maybe last week, and you're getting ready to till it up in a week or two. Have that soil ready so that when that planting date of September 15th rolls around, your dirt is bare, is ready to be planted, and you have soil moisture in it. It's those guys and I was guilty of it for a long time. When you come down on the weekend and you've got your fertilizer, your seed, your disc harrow, and you're like, I'm gonna go out there, I'm gonna harrow it up 3 times. I'm gonna put the seed and fertilizer out, and I'm gonna lightly harrow it up one more time. Well, those 3 or 4 times over that field, I don't care if you had a hurricane before you did all that, especially in Taylor County, every bit of moisture you had is gone.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, soil temperatures. I looked earlier today. Soil temperatures in our area are pushing like 95 right now. You know, you put a lot of these seeds in the ground in 95-degree soil, you know, inch deep, and you're just cooking it.
Yeah.
So I will still go a little earlier because I know we can do it, but I know that, you know, depending on how people are going to go about doing it, that changes it. Because you do, like you said, as you get into later September, October, we start getting a little more better chances of some kind of steady rain. You know, end of August, September has historically been, you know, really dry and really hot.
Talking about having that ground ready, I mean, that's something I had to learn. I learned it a lot of years ago, but before that, I did that same thing like you were talking about and took all the moisture out. But now I try to stay ahead of the game, which I no-till a lot now, but I still try to stay ahead of the game if I am going to hair a piece up and hold that moisture in, because it is unbelievable the difference you see. I mean, I know you said it for a reason, but it is a monstrous difference. But and on soil quality, we're standing in a plot that me and Mark have come over here and done some stuff here, videos and stuff before, but there's half of this thing over here we're going to show y'all in a minute that's some ground that I just let grow up in fallow for years, super sandy just like this, but I hadn't been taking care of it until like last year, or maybe the year before, started putting some lime on it and fertilizer. But I want to show you the difference in growth here to back up further what Jeff's talking about soil quality, because if you can't look at this and believe what we're saying, you'd have to have the blindfold on, but we'll check that out here in just a second.
And really, until you go back to soil health, you know, I said something about organic matter, but if you do have the opportunity to have like a no-till drill or something like that, and you are able to leave a crop, say a summer crop on the field, and plant a winter crop, or a winter crop on the field and plant a summer crop into it after you kill it, and just leave that stuff standing, or at least leave the dry matter on the soil surface. That's the best way in Georgia. You know, the fewer times you disturb the soil, the better chance you have of actually bumping that organic matter up and actually adding some back to the soil. We just have conditions. We don't freeze in fall. We don't freeze most winters. So our soil is consistent. There's bacteria and fungi in our soil consistently just chewing on this stuff when it dies, and so it just continuously turns it back into soil and no organic matter.
Speaking of leaving stuff standing, I mean, this is a plot that I'll do what we like to call dedicated summer crops in, or summer plots, and this is a good example of it. This thing's about 2 acres, and I know on camera you can't see this whole thing, but I'm probably going to come on that half and leave that in beans, and then come in here and I'll either mow this thing, spray it, hair it, something, but I'm going to cut this thing in half, and I'm going to plant this side in fall stuff. So come deer season, I've got this fall stuff coming up, this young and tender, and I'm going to leave these beans standing. You know, I've got an edge right there. You've got summer stuff, and I'm just going to leave it. It's just going to stay unless I just have time and want to come in and do a real late fall planting or something else. But pretty much, I'm just going to leave it standing. I mean, it's loaded with beans. I mean,
and that would be if somebody asked me for a recommendation, I hear that would be what I would do. I would say, okay, where are you going to be hunting? Where's your stand? And that's where I would destroy this and put in a fall crop. And then leave something standing, and then plant a cool season crop later in the year once it's all played out. Just to have something there for them.
Two different age structures too,
and it would be there for the season when the season's done.
Sounds good. We're gonna go over and check this plot out now. We're going this way to try to stay away from them no shoulders.
You didn't want to walk straight to the field?
No. Well, I think we're gonna lose a lot of it before long when them deer get grazing good. You know, I'm trying to save all I can. So, you know, we talked about right over there, and you're not gonna be able to see it on camera, of course, and there's a buffer between these two little plots. It's just got some junk growing, so you won't be able to see it really good, especially without us standing in it. But you saw the video a minute ago with us standing in it, and beans are up to here. This is the same deer, obviously. I would imagine this is kind of the weaker side of where the deer come from. That's a big creek bottom right there, and that's a clear cut that's not grown back up yet. And that's just a little tiny strip of woods right there. So I would think that's the first spot that deer come into in this area, just from a common sense standpoint. But these beans are the same beans, planted the same day, fertilized and limed the same way, same days. No different chemical applications, no different anything. But this is the difference in proper soil amendments and not. This has not been taken care of right. I just started taking care of this ground, like I said a minute ago. It was grown up in fallow forever. I was kind of, this side of the farm so limited with cover, I was kind of just letting this little area just kind of grow up for whatever reason. But and maybe just laziness to get over here and plant. Didn't need that much ground over here because there's not as many deer, but you see the difference now that I'm taking care of it. This is going to get better and better, and we'll come back in a couple of years, but I'm year 1 or 2 of lime, super sandy, just like that one. But man, I mean, what do you think about this?
I was gonna ask you, like, when did you lime this? Because it's a good example of, you know, if you lime straight ahead of planting, it's a great example of, you know, why we need to do it earlier.
Right.
You know, if you lime right ahead of planting, it's not like you put lime out and it magically makes the pH rise up. It's a reaction.
Right.
So the reactions take time. So if you're applying to the soil surface, you know, then your reactions only happen at the soil surface. So if you really want to get the most out of your lime, you know, you want to put it out early, 6 months ahead of planting.
That's what we tell people.
And you want to get it incorporated with a disc. The more you can mix it in, the more you can affect that soil profile. The deeper you can get it, the better off your crops are going to be long term. Especially if you want to put in a perennial crop. If you want to put a perennial crop in, you need to get that pH and the profile really where it needs to be, because once that perennial crop is established, like I said, when you put it on the soil surface, you're only affecting the top 2 or 3 inches.
Yeah.
You know, I tell people, you know, sometimes I will tell people if I see a soil sample come in with a pH of 5 or below, I'm like, look, my recommendation is don't plant anything.
Mm-hmm.
My recommendation is work on the pH.
Yeah.
You know, you can work on the fertility at the same time and get it ready so that when you actually spend the money on the seed, you put it in the ground, you got something. Because you can waste a lot of money. Low pH, you know, from 5 to 6, you put out fertilizer, I think it's something like a 20% loss.
I think a 5.0 was a 23% or 24% use.
Yeah.
The thing I said use of fertilizer, meaning 70-something% wasted. Was it the other way around though?
I think it's the other way around.
Okay. Yeah. I might have been saying it wrong, but
you know, you get a lot of these crops that we like to grow at pH of 6.5 or 7 is what we're recommending.
Right.
And from 5 to 7, you're looking at 50%.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah, I don't think people realize that points on that other end of that number are big.
Yeah, and if you start off not putting out enough fertilizer because you're not kind of calculating it right, or you're not, you know, not being told what the recommendation is, and you're losing half of it.
Yeah.
You know, you're wasting a lot of time, wasting a lot of money, and you could do a whole lot more. You can do a whole lot more with good pH than you can with fertilizer.
Yeah.
I tell people, if you got $100 to spend on a food plot, put lime in the ground.
I've heard row croppers say that, like if they were asked.
And then we'll pick a crop that can handle lower pH.
I've talked to row croppers that would say that, you know, farmers, and if they had to pick one, not that they would, but if they just had to pick one, it'd be lime over fertilizer. And I don't think food plotters really, you know, understand that, how important it is. And you were asking when this had been done. I don't remember. It wasn't done at plant, but I don't remember. It's something that if I got a truck running around, I would come by and hit it, you know. But it wasn't harrowed in, I can say that safely, because I wouldn't have drug a harrow over here just for this, but even though I should have. And speaking of lime, you know, like we always say, if you can get your roads opened up and you've got plots big enough to get a spreader truck in there from your local co-op or wherever that sells and spreads lime, it is so much cheaper than pelleted lime. I mean, like, I'd have to do the math, but 10 or 12 or 15 times cheaper, and you got to do it yourself if you buy pelletized lime. So sometimes you could put that same money and effort into just opening your roads up so you can get a spreader truck in and use, you know, powdered ag lime instead of bag lime.
Yeah, I think the max I've heard is like $70 spread for ag lime.
That's what we've been paying.
And pelletized is about $250 per ton.
I think it's at the shop for $6 a 40-pound bag or something. Yeah, so
it starts getting up there.
Yeah, and that's not. I mean, that stuff's, we just have it at the shop just for guys to get. That's not even like.
And there's nothing wrong with pelletized lime other than the sheer cost of it, because pelletized lime is coated with something that once it gets wet, that coat's going to break down, and the liming properties are going to be the same. All lime by law has to have a certain percentage calcium carbonate equivalent. So it's not better or worse. It's not much more fast acting or slow acting. It's not. There's no real difference there. I mean, once it gets wet, it's
just money and time.
Just money and time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, you know, we're trying to kick out more videos like this about education and stuff like that, just like we're always doing. But for more information, y'all call the office or check out forestwildlife.com for more details.